She told me to wait, said the actual CEO would be down shortly. I was standing right there in a tailored suit, carrying a portfolio with my company's name embossed in gold, and this woman looked at me like I was selling magazine subscriptions. I didn't correct her, I didn't argue, I just smiled, because 10 minutes later, I was about to become her boss. I've been a CEO for 6 years. I built my consulting firm from a spare bedroom and a credit card I maxed out twice. We do corporate acquisitions, strategic development, and real estate investment. My company's worth $23 million. I've closed deals in boardrooms across 3 continents. I've been featured in Forbes. I've keynoted at conferences where people paid $2,000 just to hear me speak. But none of that mattered the second I walked into that lobby. I was there for a routine meeting. My firm had been eyeing the building for months, prime location, undervalued, and the current ownership group was bleeding money. They didn't know we were interested yet. This was supposed to be a quiet walkthrough scheduled through a third-party broker. I wanted to see the infrastructure, the tenant mix, the bones of the place before I made an offer. I walked in at 9:50 a.m. The lobby was sleek, all marble and glass, the kind of aesthetic that screams we're expensive, but not necessarily successful. The receptionist was a white woman, mid-40s, blonde bob, sitting behind a desk that looked like it cost more than most people's cars. She was typing something on her computer, barely looked up when I approached. I smiled, professional, polite, good morning. I'm here for a 10 o'clock with David Kramer. She glanced at me, not at my face, at my clothes, then back at her screen, and you are Naomi Westfield. She frowned. Clicked her mouse a few times. I don't see you on the list. I pulled out my phone, showed her the confirmation email from the broker. It should be under Westfield Consulting Group. She squinted at my screen like I was showing her a fake ID. Well, I don't have anything here. Are you sure you're in the right building? I've dealt with this before, the subtle condescension. The assumption that I'm lost or confused, or definitely not the person they're supposed to be meeting. So I stayed calm. I'm sure. The email says 10 a.m. This address, David Kramer. She sighed audibly like I was inconveniencing her. Okay, well, I'll call up and check, but you might want to double check with whoever sent you here. Whoever sent you here? Like I was an assistant or an Uber driver. She picked up the phone, spoke in a low voice I couldn't quite hear, then hung up. Mr. Kramer's assistant says the CEO of Westfield Consulting is coming in at 10, so you'll have to wait until they arrive. I stared at her. I am the CEO of Westfield Consulting. She blinked, then smiled, the kind of smile you give a child who insists they're a dinosaur. Right, well, like I said, I'll let you know when they get here. You can wait over there. She pointed to a row of chairs near the window. Dismissed me, went back to her screen. I could have made a scene. I could have demanded to speak to her supervisor, pulled up my LinkedIn, shown her my Forbes profile, but I didn't, because I've learned something in this business. People reveal who they are when they think you're not important. And I wanted to see exactly who I was dealing with, so I sat down, checked my emails, let her think whatever she wanted to think. At 10:03, David Kramer came down. He's the building's operations manager, mid-50s, always wearing a tie that's just a little too shiny. I'd spoken to him on the phone twice, but we'd never met in person. He stepped out of the elevator, looked around the lobby, walked right past me, and went straight to the receptionist. Has the Westfield rep arrived yet? She shook her head. Not yet, but there's a woman over there who says she's the CEO. I told her to wait. He looked confused. What woman? She nodded in my direction. David turned, saw me. His face went pale. MS, Westfield. He crossed the lobby in 4 strides, hand extended, voice suddenly bright and nervous. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were already here. Has anyone offered you coffee, water? I stood, shook his hand, smiled like nothing was wrong. No, I'm fine. I've only been here a few minutes. He shot a look at the receptionist. She was staring at her computer screen like it was the most fascinating thing she'd ever seen. I apologize for any confusion, he said, voice tight. Let's head upstairs. We walked to the elevator. He pressed the button, cleared his throat. I didn't know you were. I mean, I didn't expect. You didn't expect me to be black. I said, calm, matter of fact, he stammered. No, that's not, it's fine, I said. Because it wasn't worth the energy, not yet. We rode up to the 15th floor, he gave me the tour, showed me the office suites, the conference rooms, the amenities. I took notes, asked questions about occupancy rates, maintenance costs, tenant turnover. He relaxed a little, started talking numbers. By the time we circled back to his office, he'd almost forgotten the lobby incident. Almost. We sat down. He pulled out a folder, started walking me through the building's financials. Revenue projections, expense reports, all the data I'd already reviewed, but I let him talk. I wanted him comfortable, because I was about to make him very uncomfortable. So, he said, leaning back in his chair, "What do you think? Is this something Westfield Consulting might be interested in partnering on?" I smiled. "I'm not interested in partnering." He blinked. "Oh, well, we're open to other arrangements. Leasing agreements, shared equity." "I'm interested in buying the building." He laughed, actually laughed. "Ms. Westfield, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but this building is valued at $42 million. The ownership group isn't looking to sell." I opened my portfolio, slid a document across his desk. "This is a letter of intent. My firm is prepared to offer $45 million, cash, contingent on a 30-day due diligence period. We'll cover all closing costs." He stared at the paper like I'd just handed him a ransom note. You're serious? Completely? I don't think you understand. The owners are hemorrhaging money," I said. "Your occupancy rate is 63%. You've had 2 major tenants break their leases in the last 8 months. Your operating expenses are outpacing revenue by 18% annually. The owners are underwater, and they're going to stay that way unless they sell. So yes, David, I understand perfectly." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I'll need to speak with the ownership group. Of course, I'll expect a response within 48 hours. I stood, he stood. Shook my hand like he was in a daze. I'll be in touch." I walked out of his office, took the elevator back down to the lobby. The receptionist looked up as I passed. This time she tried to smile. "Have a nice day," she said, fake nervous. I stopped, turned, walked back to her desk. "I didn't catch your name earlier," I said. She hesitated. Karen. I let it sit there for a second. "I'm Naomi Westfield, CEO of Westfield Consulting Group, in case you were still wondering." Her face went red. I'm sorry, you didn't think a black woman could be a CEO," I said, not angry. "Just honest. You saw me and decided I didn't belong. You made an assumption, and you treated me accordingly." "I didn't mean." "You did," I said. "You absolutely did, and that's fine, because in about 48 hours, I'm going to own this building, and when I do, we're going to have a very different conversation about who belongs here." I left her sitting there, walked out into the sunlight, got into my car, and I smiled. 46 hours later, David Kramer called. "Ms. Westfield, the ownership group wants to meet." "When?" "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., here at the building." "I'll be there." I hung up. Called my attorney, called my CFO. We spent the next 18 hours preparing, reviewed every line of the financials, every clause of the purchase agreement, every potential complication. By the time I walked into that building the next day, I knew more about it than the people who owned it. The meeting was in the main conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, long table, leather chairs. The ownership group was already seated. 3 men, all white, all over 50. Expensive suits. Expensive watches. They looked at me the same way Karen had, like I was a curiosity, an anomaly. David was there too, sitting off to the side, looking like he wanted to disappear. I sat down, placed my portfolio on the table. Smiled. "Gentlemen, thank you for meeting with me." The man at the head of the table, silver hair, navy suit, wedding ring that probably cost more than my first car, leaned forward. "Ms. Westfield, I'll be direct. We appreciate your interest, but we're not convinced this is a serious offer." I tilted my head. "Why is that? $45 million is a significant sum. We need assurance that your firm has the liquidity to close a deal of this size. I opened my portfolio, pulled out a letter, slid it across the table. That's a proof of funds letter from Morgan Stanley. It confirms that Westfield Consulting Group has immediate access to $60 million in liquid assets. $45 million is well within our range. He picked up the letter. Read it? His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. We also need to understand your intentions. Another man said, younger, blonde, looked like he rode crew in college. What do you plan to do with the property? Restructure the tenant base. Invest in capital improvements. Increase occupancy to 90% within 18 months. I have a full business plan if you'd like to review it. I slid another document across the table. They didn't touch it. Look, the silver-haired man said, we've had other offers, higher offers, from established firms with proven track records in commercial real estate. What makes you think we'd accept yours? I leaned back, folded my hands. Because your other offers are contingent on financing. Mine isn't. Because your other offers have 60 to 90 day close periods. Mine is 30 days. And because, frankly, you're running out of time. You've got a balloon payment due in 6 months. And if you don't sell now, you're going to default. So the question isn't why you'd accept my offer. The question is why you wouldn't. Silence. The silver-haired man's face went red. You've done your homework. I always do. He looked at the other two men. They exchanged glances, whispered, then he turned back to me. We'll need to discuss this internally. We'll have an answer for you by end of week. You have until Friday at 5 p.m. I said, after that, the offer expires. I stood, picked up my portfolio. Gentlemen, I look forward to hearing from you. I walked out. David followed me to the elevator. MS Westfield, I just want to say, don't. I said, just call me when they make a decision. The elevator doors closed. On Thursday at 3:47 p.m., David called. They've accepted your offer. I didn't react. Just said, good. Have your attorney send the purchase agreement to mine. We'll start due diligence on Monday. There's one more thing, he said. Voice hesitant. They want to know if you're planning to make any staffing changes. I smiled. He couldn't see it, but I knew he could hear it. Tell them I'll evaluate all personnel once the sale is finalized. Understood. 30 days later, the building was mine. The first thing I did after the sale closed was walk into that lobby. Same marble, same glass, same desk. Karen was sitting there typing, just like she'd been the first time I walked in. She looked up. Saw me, her face went white. I walked over, stood in front of her desk. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Karen, I said, we need to talk. She nodded, couldn't speak. I'm not going to fire you, I said. Her eyes went wide, but I am going to give you a choice. You can stay here and work under new management, my management, and you can learn what it means to treat every person who walks through that door with respect. Or you can leave today with a severance package and a neutral reference. She stared at me. I want to stay. Good, I said. Then here's what's going to happen. You're going to undergo unconscious bias training. You're going to attend quarterly diversity and inclusion workshops. And you're going to understand that when someone walks into this building, you don't get to decide whether they belong. I do. Are we clear? She nodded. Yes, MS Westfield. I'm so sorry. I know you are. I said, now prove it. I walked away, took the elevator up to the executive floor, sat in my new office, looked out at the city, and I thought about every time someone looked at me and saw something less. Every time someone underestimated me, every time someone made me wait because they didn't think I was worth their time, and I smiled because now I own the building. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever walked into a room and been dismissed before you even opened your mouth, drop a comment. Tell me your story, because I want you to know they don't get to define you. You do, and one day, you're going to walk back into that room, and everything will be different. Trust me.